We're all here and you're doing great. It is Friday. People are seeing this video on Friday, but in fact, we just wrapped up our kickoff for 2026. And it's not just for 2026, it was defining what stays the same that people love about Monkeypod, but a whole bunch of new things that are different about Monkeypod from this point forward because of a bunch of stuff, because of realities in our industry, what our members want, what new audience members want. There are big changes, and we just got to spend an hour with some of our favorite members and fans explaining where we're going.
Yeah, and we'll recap it for you. Like obviously, we are going to process, edit, publish the replay. So if you want to like laugh at all of our jokes, which like were funny, let's be honest, and get sort of like the longer explanation, Greg was there for that. We all know how eloquent he is when he speaks. We're just here like picking up. And then there's Greg speaking so beautifully. You definitely want to watch the whole replay, but we're going to do a super quick recap of the agenda so you know what we touched on to sort of create that FOMO.
You said that the people who were on camera seemed to really kind of vibe with this new direction, and I think
Yes.
answered some of the concerns that they genuinely have. If they feel their relationship with certain software tools and therefore their understanding of how to get value from Monkeypod, if they feel that slipping, and then we say you're feeling it slipping and there's great new stuff coming, I think that it was really nice to see the grid of people. People were
On the video.
nodding along.
I just totally agree with you. I think the whole experience, we literally just hung up and both Cam and I had this like huge breath of fresh air. It was very validating because over this last year, watching the entire tech stack landscape change between like HighLevel being so dominating and AI and like what are we doing with our lives, right? Like we wanted to make sure that Monkeypod was still serving people no matter which way the wind, is pushing us. So it was it was a stressful year internally for Monkeypod. Like, what are we going to do? And then once we decided, is this even the right choice? And once we made this announcement, just a short bit ago, everyone was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're doing it," and we're like, "Okay, I'm so
Yeah.
glad. I'm so glad you're glad."
We talked about the state of the automation industry in general. There are people who are feeling turmoil because the technology tools that they're using aren't doing what they wanted it to, or they're wondering if the grass is greener in some other tool, or they're an agency owner who now have to kind of deal with the proliferation of technology. So there's just so many more brands and so many more ways to solve for certain marketing and operations automation things that people are feeling some stress in that, except for the people who aren't, right? Because there are also people who they've got a product or a service, they've got a checkout form, they've got a fulfillment built, and they could care less what's happening elsewhere in the industry. We want to make sure that we acknowledge that we can't hitch our wagon to just one technology tool anymore. So that was a big part of what we wanted to directly tell our fans and our members, that we are making space for the proliferation of technology that's happening in this particular industry. So our guest speakers and our experts, if they're teaching a strategy and they have a tool that they're most inspired to use, we're going to allow them to use a wider variety of tools and then expect our members and our fans to translate that strategy to whatever they are using instead. That really goes to this like third point, that we're dealing with strategy over tech. We are still going to demonstrate using tech, but it has to be teaching the best strategy for customer journey design, the best practices for why automations are organized the way they are, bringing some discipline to your builds regardless of what platform you're using.
I just think it's so beautiful because what Monkeypod has always stood for is never going to change, no matter what the technology landscape looks like, which let's be honest, is always going to change. So we want to make sure that we're not only bringing everything back to strategy and using technology purposefully and intentionally to create that customer journey. We're also going to make sure that we're creating an educational and supportive environment, especially within the OG membership, ogmembership.com. So yeah, so what we stand for and how we deliver isn't changing, but what we're delivering to keep up with the times in the platforms we're touching on is changing, but only because that's changing. So we're changing with it.
Changing with it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to share that happened this week is that we dropped a new blog post. It's called Better Trigger Connections and HighLevel's new advanced workflow builder. And it talks about what I think is one of the best quality of life improvements that happens with the new workflow builder. It just changes how easy it is to use more than one trigger and then control the behaviors of those different triggers inside of one automation. I want to give a shout out to our member Chris and our member Konstantin, who joined for our tech hours last week, because talking about expectations between the advanced builder and the keep builder is what led me to tell them that this was my favorite improvement. If you are using HighLevel or you're curious about it and you haven't tried the new builder yet, this is a way to get your first little look at it. And going back to the platform prolification, this might be the first blog post on the Monkeypod blog that features a different technology tool than the one you're most used to. How's that for bringing it all together?
Woo! Nice. Yeah. Which just proves the point. Like, we're here to be educational and tie in a strategy, but with what tools and what challenges are you encountering? So keep the comments and concerns coming, because then we know how everybody else feels, not just the problems that we're encountering and what we want to write blog posts about it, because we want to serve you.
Yeah. That's it. That was last week in our world of automation.
It was a good
Have a
one.
good weekend, everybody.